Hello, I'm Jesse Skellington with LARP Heroes, and we're going to talk today about making some custom weapons. But now the idea here is that you will have a bending tip that will not break. No matter how hard I try to tear or twist, which doesn't really happen in the foam swords themselves, we now have a tip that will not break. So if you have your tip here, so over time, this edge here will dig into your foam, and eventually it'll tear out of the end of your weapon. So that's a bad thing because this hurts, and when it's behind and deep inside the foam is going to be bendy, and when you hit somebody it's fun. So this is to prevent the tip failure. If we were to try to take our hot glue and try to dig into this, it's not really going to do much damage, which is nice, and especially if this is flexing with the foam on the inside. This is going to stop this guy here from actually tearing through. We used to actually take the closed cell foam and stick it inside of the tubing. Problem being with that is that eventually this core here would tear, and we'd have tip failure. So if that makes any sense whatsoever. Anybody that's built these for years like I have, and all the other foamsmiths, this has always been the burden of our existence because the weapon should last much longer. This is epoxy tubing, and it is 0.370 or 3. What we're going to be doing here is cutting the core to length. This particular, I'm making a weapon. It's going to be a 21-inch dagger, but that means I have 1.5 inches on the pommel end, and then 2 inches for the tip of the sword. So that means I need a total length of 18 inches, but actual core size is only going to be 14. So I'm going to mark here at 14, and then I'm going to take your stereotypical hacksaw, and I'm going to come over here to the end of my table. So when cutting your epoxy tubing, you want to pull back and go slow, even strokes. This way it will not fray your epoxy tubing from tacked plastic. And what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to take hot glue, and I'm going to fill the core about 1.5 inches deep, and then I'm going to go out about 2 inches. So how we go about that is take a little bit of your average paper towel, and let's make a little wad. And what I like to do is stuff that down the tubing. I will measure myself out 1.5 inches with a ruler, and I got it down my 1.5 inches. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill it up with the hot glue. And what this will do is it will have a tendency to settle. So go ahead and fill it up, and it will start to fall. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just grab myself the middle chunk of the can and removing the ends. There we go. Kind of just jump in there as fast as you can, and that way we're able to penetrate without a lot of bending. Okay, so now we've got our centerpiece, but we've got some really rough edges and some awkward bending, so I like to come in and just make these, straighten them up. Got it nice lined up, and I should be able to wrap multiple tips out of just this little bit. So now I'm going to take our Pepsi can metal, and I'm going to roll it nice and tight against the table, and going as tight to the core as possible. And I'm rolling. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some masking tape, because masking tape is not subject to heat. Now that we've got our pop can wrapped around this epoxy tubing, I'm going to pull this out, up and over the tip. What we're going to do is we're going to take 2 inches, come down to the ruler, and I'm going to measure this out to 2 inches. Then I'm going to butt it up next to the hot glue, and then I'm going to push this guy up and over it so it touches my finger. So now I know I'm basically 2 inches in. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill this tube all the way up. Go slow because I want it to kind of roll downhill and bond with the hot glue at the base here. So what we're doing here is we're waiting for the hot glue to settle each time. And you'll notice you'll have to do it 3 or 4 times. And it'll start to bow in the center and look like a little reverse whirlpool going down. And then you just keep filling it up until it doesn't drop down anymore. And each time maybe up to 5 minutes per settling. So now if we look at the top of the glue, it's no longer convexing, it's now concaved. Now what we're going to do here, I can take my fingernail and poke into it so I know it's nice and hard. So let's go ahead and take off the tape. And you're going to find it's really stuck on there. So you're going to have to really kind of pull it up and out. And you can see here where we had failure. Never actually made it to the bottom, which is kind of a bust. So we'll end up doing this again. So this is a good example of, gosh darn it, got to do it again. It just never rolled all the way downhill. Slowly going down and air is coming up. So hot glue down, air up. It's better.
Mr. Miyagi.
Work, I tell you. So we had some failure here while trying to videotape this wonderful procedure. And so right now we're hoping to incentivize the hot glue to fall to the bottom. Seems to be doing a good job.
I wonder if you heat it up more if it will rise.
No, it can only do so.
It's coming! The baby's coming!
Baby brother. We'll call it Broad.
It popped.
Well, I am an impatient person, and so what I've got is a jar of water with ice in it, and I'm just trying to reduce the temperature of the hot glue stuff here. Now we're going to dunk and leave it in for a few minutes to cool off the hot glue, because we're Americans and we're impatient. You want this thing to go faster. We've prayed to the great crafting gods, and Marie was ever so nice to do the dance for us. So hopefully this time our tip will be successful. Just grab here at the very cusp and then pull this direction with your hand. There we go. And one more. Okay, perfect. So now we have a perfect outer diameter that's next to the epoxy tubing. So now when it bends, it's going to bend up here and get a nice here, this edge. This hardness isn't going to try to poke through your foam, which is normally where it fails. And this has haunted me since I was 16. I'm 47 now. Do the math. So we have success. And there was hot glue back in my day, so why I didn't think about doing this first, I have no idea. But at least I've come up with it, and you guys get to utilize it and come out and play with me sometime. So I love to go LARPing with new people. It's always a good time. So again, you can bend it, and it doesn't just pop out. And I don't want to get too aggressive with this because I think it's still a little warm, but still it's not coming loose. And once you get the foam around it, everything will be nice and stable. So here's our 2 inches. Let's verify it. For real, we're at 1 inch, and we're at 2 inches. Just a hair under, but I think it'll be successful. So we will prep the back end, and then we will get on to the next fun part of the crafting process, which will be routering out some Y20 foam and putting this inside and gluing it all together. So that's the next 2 movies that you'll see moving forward.